Thank you. Nice to be here. Good morning, everyone. I think what we'll start off is with a video. It's a connected video, and it's two products that are part of our future in Bombardier. One is more of an immediate need our customer base wants. The second one is about how we become more fuel efficient and provide the next generation aircraft in line with what you've been hearing this morning on reducing emissions and giving back to Mother Nature. Let's put it that way.
Bombardier 29, requesting clearance for takeoff. Target Mach 1.01. You ready? Is ready. Chase, you ready? 3, 2, 1, 3.
There's the Mach. I can feel it. Definitely went Mach 1 there. We're at 4.3, we're above bingo. Beautiful.
Pulling up on starting my taxi. Runway. Okay, we're good to go. 3, 2, 1, launch. Okay, go ahead.
Beautiful.
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 So that gives you some insight of what we have in the works. We've gone public with both of these different applications and platforms, but you can see that SAF is a big factor for us in fuel in the business jet industry as well. So Bombardier is, we'll skip over, the largest #1 market share when it comes to the business jet in the aviation industry, certainly for the mid to large size. And we have approximately $7 billion in revenue this year, greater than that next year. Big focus for us is also in our services industry and growing defense. Now, Bombardier is a Canadian company, and I would say that a year ago we used the word missionized a lot more than we use the word defense now in 2023. Particularly because one of our 6,500 aircrafts had been weaponized and went public. So we are Canadian, but we are using the word defense now going forward. And then the greatest revenue driving from the Global and the Challengers. So the 7,500 you saw in the video, that did go Mach 1 and has more than once done that somewhere over North America, is going to be launched at the end of 25, and that comes with a great aspiration to also use SAF. But this presentation is about how we deal as a proactive supply chain in a very, very trying time. So you can see on here right now that the entire industry is growing very quickly. The demand is high. The aircrafts are in high desire, and even if it's a mid-size or a large size. And this here is a structure of business aviation in general, but you can see the CAGR growth between 22 and 25. I think it's a little understated, to be honest. The demands are significant on us to turn around aircrafts in a very timely fashion. But what's happened in the industry? So between 21 and 23, the number of billionaires increased by at least 400% on the planet. Crazy during a time when COVID was impacting all of us. And your person who flew on the commercial aircraft, who sat in business class, moved up to first class because of COVID, because of that security. The person in first class started buying hours on fractional jets. So your net jets, your Vista jets, your flex jets. And the people that were on the fractional jets started buying their own jets. Didn't want to travel with a group of other folks, and those are particularly the ones that buy the largest aircraft. So that shift up the food chain has created a significant demand and growth in the private aircraft industry. And for Bombardier itself, we've had a growth rate year on year of 28% in revenue, cash flow positive, significant backlog, and a growth in profitability. So EBIT growth for business jet industry is a challenge, and a challenge in particular when you're coming out of a COVID industry impact. So how do you maintain your costs? How do you get your parts? How do you meet your commitments to the street? At the same time, driving an ESG strategy that is paramount for not only the business jet industry, but all aviation in general. So Bombardier has made it very clear on what we're doing as far as contribution to the ESG, be it people and product and the environment. These are our goals and our objectives in the next 3 to 5 to 7 years, depending on what it is. But greenhouse emissions is huge. And you saw the video of the EcoJet. And this is a blended wing solution. Very different than the way aircrafts are built today. And between now and when that aircraft comes to market, because we have a lot of certification to do and R&D engineering, but there's many attributes of that aircraft we can take now to put into the aircrafts of the next 5, 6, 10 years to help with the carbon emissions reduction. Again, biggest growth strategies for us, defense aftermarket, and also the CPO industry, which is really the certified pre-owned. There are not many business jet aircrafts on the market to buy, but those that come up, you want to flip them like you do a house. And how fast can you do that? And how capable is your supply chain to be able to predict what the needs are of all three of these areas? We have a very broad, and I would use the word eclectic customer base, and demands and needs are wanting solutions immediately. Okay, so this is all what we've heard about this morning, all the different challenges that we've experienced if you're in the supply chain anywhere. It doesn't matter what you make or where you build it. Pandemics, geopolitical issues, cyber attacks, interest rates, debt, deglobalization, everything or anything that could have been thrown at us as supply chain leaders absolutely was. And even, I would say, weaponizing raw material and disaster capitalization, like the extremes that you could have experienced did happen. In 2021, 2022, and 23, Bombardier did and will deliver every aircraft we committed to the street. And I do believe we are the only OEM that's going to be able to stand up and say we did that. But how did we get there? Because we're going from a reactive supply chain to a proactive supply chain. In 2021, when companies were unfortunately having to let their employees go, volumes were down, restrictions were in place, Bombardier chose, the supply chain chose not to let one supply chain employee go. We kept them all. I did not want to lose the brain trust. We, in fact, went and hired 100 more employees into our supply chain organization and launched an intervention team that immediately went out and spent time with our partners on identifying risk, but not only the surveillance attribute of it, but actually providing solutions. So it's easy to pound your fist on the table and say, I need my parts, put me at the front of the line. But many companies were put into a position where they just couldn't do that themselves. So we really lent in. We provided resources to find raw material, planning, quality, called their sub-tiers, et cetera, for us to be able to get the parts that we needed. Now, was it easy? Absolutely not. The entire industry had challenges, and it was a lot of learning for us at the same time. So, the trends. And these are the trends that I see in the business jet industry, but to be honest, it's impacting everybody, and anybody and everybody in aerospace and high tech as well. And our aircrafts are becoming more high-tech than ever. You know, my background is from the high-tech industry. I've been in aerospace 6 years. It's incredible how those two industries have crossed over in the last 5-6 years. And the challenges that they have are impacting us. So transportation, labor, raw material, we all saw it, we all had it up until 22. 23 to 24, planning and quality. The learning curves, and this is my equation for all of my team, the attrition rate of employees at our partner, let's say it's 30% over 21, 22 because of layoffs, retirement, et cetera, equates equally to your first pass yield impact. 20% turnover, 20% first yield impact. So what are you doing to help those partners avoid quality issues and getting them to you on the line? Defense and high tech, and I bucket them together. Now, defense consumption of capacity is considerable. The spend is going to double in the next 3 to 4 years on defense. And as my peers in the industry, defense might have a tag called Boeing or Airbus or whatever, but the defense consumption of capacity in the production lines will be significant, with not so much desire from some partners on investing on capital infrastructure. And then financial distress. In the last 3 years, we bought 2 partners and bought those suppliers and integrated them. I insourced 4,000 parts, and I supported financially about 27 small suppliers. I think that's going to be around for a little bit longer, but again, we had to lean in as an organization to help get across those milestones and those challenges. What's in front of us? The quiet migration. It is incredible how many suppliers are moving from California to Mexico, China to India. The migration that's happening at the tier 2, 3, and 4 level is very unsettling. And unsettling from the perspective that we don't know it's happening, or we find out it's too late it's happening. And I get why the moves are happening, don't get me wrong. But communication, you heard a lot about that this morning, the connected and communication has to improve across aerospace. Otherwise, we will continue to trip and flounder with surprises and challenges. But that migration is happening, and it will continue to happen. High-tech and raw material, again, the high-tech industry is investing in smaller than 90 nanometer components that go on all the PCBs, PCBAs, and your solutions for all your systems. They are not investing in the greater than 90 nanometer parts that are on all of our boards today in aerospace. Where are we proactively looking at the obsolescence issue and working with these foundries to ensure that there's a life cycle in front of us of the greater than 90 nanometer components? A lot of obsolescence issues coming across aerospace in the next 5 years, far more, I think, than we've ever seen in the last 20 years. And then digitalization. It's paramount we get to what we call our North Star. And yes, we're Canadian, but the North Star is what is the best case scenario for a connected supply chain, a digitalization supply chain in front of us. And we'll walk you through a few of things that we're doing to help us be more proactive versus reactive in trying to solve problems in the industry. The 3 I's: information, insight, and influence. And these are the mantras or the recipe that we always build many of our projects or what we're working on to be successful. So the information is that digital tool improvements. How can we get connected better with our partners on notice of escapes, what challenges you're seeing in your supply chain, where we are is in the prioritization of deliveries, et cetera. And that external visibility of risk. There's a couple of applications that we've launched, and I'll walk you through how we are trying to build that crystal ball of understanding what potentially could happen to us in the next 3, 5, 10 years. And then, of course, insight. You heard everything about talent this morning. What we're doing proactively, yes, we would love to have more supply chain leaders and SMP certificate university students, but we're out hiring finance majors, legal majors, economic majors, anything that has something to do with an attribute of supply chain without having to be a supply chain expert to help us build the skill set and the capabilities to take on all of those challenges you saw on the previous page. We'll talk a little bit about the Advanced Supplier Management Team. We have launched an organization that is approximately will be about 150 staff, and I know that we all have our audits for Transport Canada, FAA, and all of the European standards, but what we're doing is actually going down to tier 4s now with our partners on the assessments of how the capabilities are there, what trends we're seeing in the industry, and how we can stay ahead of it. Now, some partners may find that intrusive, but we are sharing how we're doing the assessment with the assessment tools, how we're trying to find those trends, and sharing those applications. We're not going to keep this to ourselves. It helps the entire aerospace industry. Influence. How much of a voice do you have with your business strategy as a CPO? You need to be in front of the executive team at all times, sharing what's going on in the industry and what we think is going to happen in the industry. 6 years ago, I really influenced the company to be more of a north-south supply chain. Now, I'd say that north-south has Europe down to middle of Mexico. My spend in Asia, other than one major partner in Thailand, directly, $7 million a year. Like, I've just gotten out, right? But I'm one of those companies who have influenced that quiet migration because of what I experienced in high tech, and that was a reason why we looked at that north-south model. It also was a benefit for us during COVID. I didn't have to fight over containers and try to find my material sitting in a port in California. It was one benefit. Okay, moving on. Digitalization, connected supply chain. You hear about blockchain. I can't wait for that to happen, but I think that's a long ways away, to be honest. But there are pieces of blockchain that we can all influence right now in your supply chain. And there's 2 that we have partnered with. Now, I launched Lean DNA 5 years ago because Bombardier had so many different ERP systems, I could not get them connected. So we came in with a cloud-based solution, a proactive tool that actually push message to our buyers on the activities that they should prioritize first thing in the morning to make sure we got product at the right price, at the right time, and we didn't impact our production lines. But the one that really interests me the most is Resolink. Not a big company, software-based, owner came from Cisco, and this is an application that actually is what we're using to build the catalog of the business jet aerospace industry. It is a spider web application that we've asked our partners to share with us, and we will share back with all our partners. I have 6,000, 7,000 sites in the tool now that tells me what commodity, where they are, what the risk assessment is, and I get push messaging from every single one of them every day if there's some kind of event that's happened in the world, be it Mother Nature, geopolitical, a CEO changing, financial challenges, etc. This proactiveness and understanding trends in the industry and having some form of AI that's now coming back to us and saying, you better go look. You better go dig a little deeper in this part of the world under this kind of commodity. Super application. The CEO has worked with us to evolve what its capabilities are. Like I said, we're sharing it with many of our partners, but it's also a requirement of our partners to use this application and share what their supply chain is. It helps you better understand the catalog of who can do what, where, and when, if you have a challenge in your supply chain, if you need to grow capacity, etc. So I am getting the hook, but insight on people as well. Stay on top, hunt for experts, irrespective if it's the supply chain industry, and as well, be the influencer on your industrialized strategy in your company. Major changes have happened and will happen, and be the voice that makes sense for your shareholders and your stakeholders. Okay? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.